Hello Percussion. Today we're talking about the musical alphabet, the treble and bass clef, and the 4 basic strokes in week 4 of beginner percussion. Here we go. Before we dive right into learning about the different clefs in music, let's talk about the musical alphabet. Unlike our regular alphabet, the musical alphabet only has 7 letters. In fact, they're the first 7 of our normal alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After we get to the letter G, we actually go back to the letter A. It repeats itself. We can see the layout of a keyboard is consistent with this. However, instead of thinking about the musical alphabet in a linear form, it may be better to think of it in a circle at first. We can look at this musical alphabet chart here and see that when we go to the right, we're going through the alphabet in a clockwise fashion. Normally we start our alphabet with A. Our alphabet would normally consist of the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But we can also start our musical alphabet on different letters. If we started our musical alphabet on the letter D, our alphabet would consist of the letters D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. We could start our musical alphabet on the letter F. That would consist of F, G, A, B, C, D, and E in that order. What other musical alphabets could we create? Try creating your own. So let's talk about our treble clef now. Remember, the clef tells us how to read our staff. The treble clef is actually a big loop system that ends up looping around mainly over the second line in the staff from the bottom. That line we're going to call G. That's our G line. In fact, the treble clef is also called the G clef for this reason. If I know that that second line on the staff is a G, then the musical alphabet will tell me the rest. If I go up in the staff, I go upwards or forwards in the alphabet. And so if that second line is G, I know that that next space is going to be A. If that space is A, I can definitely rely on that third line being B. We can actually use the musical alphabet to complete the rest of this treble staff as we see here. At a certain point, we are going to run out of staff, per se. There's actually a way that we can add our staff lines above and below where we wouldn't normally be able to get to. These are called ledger lines. We can add a ledger line to our staff to create more room for our notes to be. In this example, we know that the top of the staff, right above it, has to be G because that top line is F. And so if that top space is G, we can add another ledger line above that and actually create the note A. Ledger lines are great because we can extend the staff past its normal boundaries. The bass clef works the same way that the treble clef does. We can use the musical alphabet to fill in our lines and spaces from bottom to top. The bass clef tells us that the line in between the 2 dots is the F line. That's the note F. Just like earlier, we can fill in the rest of the staff using our prior knowledge. I will tell you, as percussionists, we typically don't deal too much with the bass clef in the very beginning, but it does become more and more important as time goes on. Believe it or not, there's actually a relationship between the treble and the bass clef. As you can see here, we've got this theoretical 11-line staff. You can see if we get rid of the middle line there, then we've actually got a treble staff above and a bass staff below. There is a line theoretically in between these clefs that we can draw here. That line is called middle C because that's the letter C, or the note C, in between the treble and the bass clefs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 4 basic strokes. We've already been over one a couple weeks ago. That was the full stroke. Remember, the full stroke starts up and ends up. What that means is that whenever we strike the drum or the drum pad, we just let it bounce right back up to us like this. Okay? And remember, we can only achieve that by being relaxed. I like to think of having soft hands. Okay? Notice that if I'm not relaxed, if I'm over squeezing, especially with these back fingers here, I'm going to get a choked off sound like that. It doesn't allow my sticks to vibrate. And if I try to get a full stroke that way, I'm going to end up having to force the upstroke. Okay? Remember, we want that nice open sound. That way, the rebound comes right back up to us. Okay, so once again, that's our full stroke. We throw the stick back into the pad and we let it come right back up to us. Starts up, ends up. The next type of stroke that we're going to talk about is called the downstroke. Now the downstroke starts high as well, but then we're going to end low this time. How do we do that? Well, just like the full stroke, we throw the stick into the pad, but as soon as the stick hits the pad, we're going to let the weight of our hand control it down. And we're also going to close the space between our back fingers and our palm. I'm going to close that space just a little bit. So we start up and we end down like this. There is going to be a little bit of a residual bounce there, a little bit of a residual rebound. Okay, but all in all, we're letting that weight of our hand control that stick downwards. Careful not to close your fingers before the stick hits the pad. That's going to adversely affect the vibration of the stick and therefore sound a little bit off whenever we hit our instrument. It's also going to not work quite as well for you. You're going to be a little bit too tense, right? You should get that little bit of rebound there, okay? The downstroke should sound exactly the same as the full stroke. The next stroke we're going to talk about is called the tap stroke. This one's pretty simple. It starts low and it ends low. I like to think of the tap stroke as a full stroke junior. We just start here in the down position, and just like the full stroke, we're going to strike the drum once and let it rebound right back up. Once again, if I'm closing the back fingers too much, I'm going to choke off the sound and we're going to have to force that rebound. Remember, we shouldn't have to assist the rebound much right now. Okay? That is our tap stroke. The last stroke is called the upstroke. The upstroke starts low and ends high. And the first part of the upstroke is actually identical to the tap stroke, except once we strike the drum pad, we're going to assist the rebound by bending our wrist upwards, like this. Make sure to combine the motions. We don't want to play a tap stroke and then rebound. We want to make sure that the motions are combined like that. The upstroke should sound exactly like the tap stroke. Now let's take a look at the percussion stroke exercises PDF that is included in the description of this video. Remember, percussionists, it's always important to make sure that we go through our process before we hit anything on the drum pad. For example, for our percussion stroke exercises, let's say I'm about to play number 2, my full down exercise. First thing I want to do is make sure that I count the exercise in time. Next, I want to make sure that I say the sticking out loud. So if I'm playing 2A, it's all right. If I'm playing 2B, it's all left. And then for 2C, I say both anytime I see a note. And then also it's important to make sure that we actually say and mimic the down stroke and the full stroke as well before we actually play it. For example, let's say I'm starting in the up position there. I want to make sure that I actually say full, down, reset before I actually play the exercise itself. So keep that in mind. Before we play the exercises, make sure that we go through the process so that we can prove to ourselves that we are ready for the real deal. That being said, let's go ahead and apply our knowledge to the percussion stroke exercises page included. Let's play those exercises together. For this first week, as we tackle this page here, we should probably just focus on numbers 1 and 2. You, of course, can move on if you're getting really ahead of the pack, but like I said, most of our time, if not all of it, should be spent at the top of the page here. Number 1 talks about our full strokes. We're going to start in the up position as normal, okay? And there is only one type of sticking for this exercise. Each measure is either on the right or on the left. And so, once again, I'm going to start in the up position and put our metronome on 60 beats per minute, always 60 at first. We can move on quicker whenever we are ready. And then we're going to play our exercise. Before we do that, we always go through that process. 1, 2, ready, go. For this next exercise on the page, number 2, we play full and then downstrokes, and then we use beats 3 and 4 of the measure to reset. On re, we remain down, and on set, we come back up and bend the wrists upwards. Of course, as always, we want to go through the process first before we play this together. But included in the video, I'll go ahead and play 2C with you guys, and you can play along with me. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. And finally, percussionists, we can go back to steps number 1 and 2 in our Simple Steps book, and we can play all those different types of strokes to those same exercises that we played before. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you have a great week, and as always, happy drumming. See you next time.